Wallis Simpson wasn't royalty. She wasn't born into money or power. She was an American woman, twice divorced, who somehow caught the heart of the future King of England. Her story isn't some fairy tale romance. It's one of scandal, love, obsession, and royal rejection. When she entered Edward's life, everything changed. She didn't act like other women in royal circles. She was bold, confident, witty, and wore fashion like armor. To Edward, she wasn't just different, she was everything. But to the royal family, she was trouble. Edward VIII was charming, rich, and the future of the monarchy. But deep down, he didn't want the crown as much as he wanted freedom. He loved parties, fashion, and Wallis. While his family expected him to marry someone royal and proper, he was obsessed with Wallis. Friends said he would call her multiple times a day, write her endless letters, and hang on her every word. It wasn't just love, it was total devotion. And in the stiff, rule-heavy world of the British royals, that kind of passion, dangerous. Wallis wasn't just a divorced woman, she was divorced twice. That alone made her unacceptable in the eyes of the Church of England, which the king also led. The idea of a king marrying someone with 2 living ex-husbands was unthinkable. But it went deeper than religion. The royal family and government were terrified of Wallis's influence over Edward. They saw her as manipulative, power-hungry, and possibly even a threat to national stability. To them, she wasn't just a woman in love, she was a woman who could bring down the crown. When Edward said he wanted to marry Wallis, the British government said no. The royal family said no. The church said no. But Edward didn't back down. He refused to choose duty over love. So, in one of the most shocking moments in royal history, he gave up the throne. He literally walked away from being king just to be with Wallis. It was the first time something like this had ever happened in modern history. The love story captured headlines around the world, but inside Buckingham Palace, it was treated like betrayal. After Edward gave up the crown, he was given the title Duke of Windsor, and Wallis became the Duchess. But the royal family never gave her the title Her Royal Highness. That small detail was a huge deal. It was their way of saying she would never be truly accepted. Wallis and Edward got married in France, far away from the British public, and began a new life together. At first, they were glam icons, photographed in designer clothes, attending parties in Europe. But behind the smiles, things weren't so simple. Wallis and Edward spent most of their lives feeling like outsiders. They were exiled from the core royal family and left without a clear role. Edward often felt bored and frustrated, stuck between being a former king and a forgotten royal. Wallis, meanwhile, was painted by the press as cold, calculated, and selfish. Some people believed she never actually loved Edward, that she only wanted status. Others believed she felt trapped, stuck with a man who gave up everything for her, whether she wanted him to or not. If their romance wasn't already controversial enough, it got worse. Wallis and Edward visited Germany in the late 1930s, even shaking hands with him. The visit shocked the world and created endless rumors. Some people believed they were sympathetic to them, even though there was no solid proof. It ruined whatever was left of their public image. Despite all the drama, Edward and Wallis stayed married for decades. He died in 1972, and Wallis lived alone in Paris for years after, slowly fading from the public eye. Some say she was lonely, isolated, and kept away from the world by staff who controlled everything around her. When she died in 1986, Queen Elizabeth allowed her to be buried next to Edward, a quiet, respectful end to a love story that changed royal history. People still argue about Wallis and Edward. Was it an epic love story that proved romance can conquer all? Or was it a selfish choice that shook the monarchy? Some see Wallis as a villain who ruined a king, others see her as a misunderstood woman caught in a game she never asked to play. What's clear is that their story changed how we see royalty forever. Thanks for watching. If you found their story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more royal scandals, untold stories, and history with a twist.